Hello and welcome back to the Ecuador Insider Podcast. Jesse, joined today by my lovely wife Aide and our beautiful new team member Chiyoko. Thrilled to have the ladies on the pod. Definitely need some feminine energy. We have feminine energy on the team, but now we have it on the pod as well. So that is awesome. Super psyched that they took the time. We are perhaps going to get chased by the darkness a little bit.
We're close.
We'll see.
We're close,
It's
yeah.
5 o'clock here now, and it gets dark in Ecuador about 6:30 all year. So 6 o'clock, perhaps when we start wrapping this up, it may be a little dark. Bear with us. So today is an interesting episode. We're going to talk about Vilcabamba, right? These ladies are going to share their perspective on what Vilcabamba means to them, some of the magic of the valley, and what is, the authentic truth from our perspective, of course, but what is actually here. Because if you're not here, man, there's a lot of stuff on the internet that you read about, and I don't know, from my perspective, like 90% of it is garbage, and I think it's really good to find out from people who actually live here, what do they like and not like about the valley. So that's really, really the crux of today's show. Before we get into that, let me just give you guys a minute or two on who these ladies are. So Aide is my wife. We have 2 children together, 3 children in total. She used to work for the company. She basically used to run the company, the back end of the company, which was amazing. And she's coming back a bit now. We have a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So her time has shifted over the years to be primarily focused on that, but she's going to come back, do some things, so you may see her if you stop by our office in the future. We'd love to see you down here. Aide is from Ecuador. She grew up on the coast in Aranillas, where her family is from. Spent some years in Spain as well as a child. Ended up relocating back to Ecuador, back to Vilcabamba at 15?
Yes.
15, look
15,
at that,
16.
I nailed it. How do you like that? About 15, 16 years old. And has been here ever since. So over 10 years now in the valley. We were in Loja for some years, about half of that time actually. So yeah, Chiyoko, who check out the interview we did, the expat profile we did with Chiyoko, and you can also see Aide, by the way, on a very old podcast. What was the name of that? I don't know. Maybe Ladies episode, something like that, or the Ladies Take Over the Podcast, or something like that. But you can find that if you want to look for it. That was a great episode. Got a lot of views. So Chiyoko comes from the New York, New Jersey, the tri-state area, as we used to say back home, and has also a very interesting story. Sort of high-powered New York City marketing executive, spiritual awakening into the health world and startups world as well. Co-founded several different companies. Found her way to Hawaii and Bali and other places, and is now down here in the valley, heading up, taking the lead, the running point on our health retreat, which is in October. So it's been awesome to work with you, Chiyoko. Thank you for jumping on board. It's really been really a fun team at this point that we have going here at Abundant Living. Those birds are making quite a bit of noise. So yeah, anything you guys want to add to those intros before we get into the topic?
So yeah, I got here in Vilcabamba in 2012, which is almost like 11 years ago. And really, honestly, I could say that I felt I was dragged here. Like I had no choice. Like there is no way I ended up in this town where my family doesn't belong from here. I am from the coast of Ecuador. I don't have family members here. Just my mom decided, like, if you're coming to Ecuador, you're gonna come to this town. And I was like, all right, I don't understand the why, but now 11 years later, after a lot of growing, I kind of became an adult here. So Vilcabamba is very special for me in my life, and I could recall it's my home, my life home, and I don't have any plans to leave it anytime soon. So I feel very attached to it. I love the community here. I think what I love the most in this town is the people and the weather and the food. So I really love this town with all the stuff. So yeah.
I love hearing you share that. We're probably hijacking half your questions
No,
down
you-
here
you
because like
talk
now
to
we're
me.
just taking it away. And I love hearing you say that, Ide, and we're kind of looking at each other because it's the people here. And I just want to acknowledge Jesse and Ide were some of my first friends in Vilcabamba that I made back in August when I came here. And some overlap, but I remember a couple moments at the farmer's market. You know, you were there with your two little kids, and I figured out who Kirsten was, the older kid. She's not even a kid anymore. But some of the nicest, genuine, authentic, like interactions happens at that farmer's market and happened with each of you. And I'm very self-aware. I get a little self-conscious sometimes, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if these people really want to talk to me. Do they have time? They have kids. They're so busy. It's very New York mentality. Like no one has time for anyone. And you guys not only had time, like I think you actually really enjoyed talking to me.
No,
And my
loved it.
brother was here, and my sister-in-law, and I'm just remembering this right now. I think you guys and your kids, like, we didn't know where Franco's health food store was.
Yes.
We didn't-
Franco Organico, as
Yes.
they say.
Franco
yeah.
Organico. It's 3 blocks off of Town Square, and Jesse's like, we better just drive you. Like, that's
Yes.
kind of how hopeless we were in the first
Well,
month here.
it's just 30-second, let me jump in 30 seconds. It's also just funny, too, because it's this specialty store
Yes.
by this local guy who has a farm and
Yes.
sells organic...
Multi-generational.
Multi-generational.
Yes.
Sells
Franco's.
organic goods and some imported specialty items
Essential
at this organic
oils.
store.
Yeah, you can get the goods there.
And has no sign of any kind. Is open, I think, 3 or 4 days, 3 days a
per
week.
week.
At questionable hours at
through
best.
questionable hours, and you literally have to know where it is to find it. So, anyways, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we had tried like twice to find it. I hope this is a relevant story to anything
all
like that we're
relevant.
talking about, but here we go. And I remember the feeling mostly of like, these people are genuinely taking the time. We hopped in the back of the pickup truck. By the way, it's not how you drive in New York. Like you just don't, when I say back of the pickup truck, I mean the flatbed that's open air, which is not an everyday thing, like an every other day thing here. Like
I
it's
think we might have
kinda
even
common.
like bikes back there
Oh,
or
there's-
something. Was there?
My brother, sister-in-law, and I were like, this is the coolest thing ever. The coolest thing ever. Because when do you, in the continental states, in Hawaii, it might be a little different, get to ride like that? Oh, and I know your oldest son, Jacob, wanted to ride in the back with us. I'm like, we're being taken in. Like, he wants to be friends with us. He
Yeah.
was 3 at the time. And I'm like, this is community. And it was such a micro example. And I just want to give respect and like reverence to like, wow, a lot's happened since August. It's been 10 months.
Yes.
I'm almost at my 10-month anniversary. It might be like tomorrow, right? And like, look at us now, like the friendships that have deepened, the work collaborations. Like, Ide and I we're good friends, like normal girlfriends, and also spiritual friends. And we'll
Yes.
talk about that. And there's been, I think, radical spiritual journeys that many people are on in Vilcabamba. And when you get to weave with people on their path, wow, something special really happens. And it's meaningful to me to sit here on a podcast on YouTube.
Yes.
With abundant living being the primary context of why this is here and my work with abundant living, but to call you guys real friends.
Yes.
And I don't know how I started on that path, but
Yeah.
that's where I went, and that's where we are.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because you were a key piece on my spiritual life. So I'm very happy that you came here and like you are in our lives in a lot of different ways. So I'm
Yeah.
very happy for that. Thank
Me
you.
too.
No, and that that story illustrates for me one of the things that's so cool about this place, right? Because there seems to just always be these sort of synchronistic events and relationships and things that happen that are hard to explain. They're hard to describe, right? You kind of like that. You're at the market and you meet someone and, all of a sudden you have some things in common. And then this thing leads to that thing, and in our case, we're working together and we become friends, and we're doing this and we're doing that.
Totally.
In other cases, it could be a housing situation, it could be a project, it could be just friends, it could be all kinds of things. But those sort of synchronicities and connections seem to happen at an abnormal rate in this valley, and then you mentioned sort of the pickup truck and those kinds of things, and it's like, that to me is some of the lifestyle stuff,
Yeah.
right? That's like some of the lifestyle stuff that I appreciate about the valley, and about the culture here just in general, right? It's such a less formal place to live, like you don't have to, you don't have to sort of adhere to very strict rules and norms and ideas about how to live life and how to go about things. you can kind of free flow through life a bit and hop in the back of a pickup truck and go to the river and do this and do that in the course of a normal day, which for lifestyle is amazing, right? I mean, I've said this before, but it's like in my day, I could easily have 3 or 4 business meetings, which can be intense even, and also go to the river, and also spend time with my kids, and also take a yoga class or do something like that, and spend time with friends. And to be able to do that within, a valley is special. So that's one of the things I really enjoy. What I don't know, like what characterizes Vilcabamba for you? Or you said you've been here a long time, you don't want to leave. Like what's so special about it for you?
I believe like the community is very supportive. Like we are here and we are as a family. We help each other. If something happens, we are here to like support whatever is going on with whoever is in the community. So I love that from the community. I always feel very supported. So I don't have my family here, so to have that is very valuable. And I believe that people coming from the States, leaving their families in the back and like being afraid to be alone here, no, like community opens their arms to you, and like that's very beautiful and special, and I love this. And it's in the culture here in the highlands, in La Sierra,
Mountains.
In the mountains, it's also very warming, like which in the coast from where I'm from is a little more different from what I experienced. So it's a little more like everyone is in their business and stuff like that, but here like family sticks together, and I feel very supportive. Like you guys know, I have my little entrepreneur.
Yeah, your little business,
My
your
little
little
business.
entrepreneurial endeavor. Yeah.
Exactly. So I have my dad.
Ide brews kombucha. It's the
Exactly.
best kombucha in the country by
really is.
far, and that is, I think, an unbiased opinion. But
He's also my husband, so he can be also nice. So I feel very supported by the community, and there is a space for a lot of kombucha companies. I'm not the only one doing, but there is business for everyone. It's the same thing with everyone. Like everyone is doing something. If someone else is doing it too, there is business for everyone. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see like the town being very supportive. So I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, so you're 10 months in. My dog is about to have a spat with a neighbor's cat. We'll see how that goes. But
Oh, yeah.
they're eyeing each other. But
It's intense.
it's very intense. You're 10 months in.
Yeah.
So relatively new, although you've really dove in feet first. I mean, you really dove fully in.
Go big or go home.
Go
Very
big or
New
go
York.
home. Very
New
New York.
York. There's only one way.
So what's been your impressions over those 10 months? What's your takeaways
Yeah.
from Vilcabamba?
There's so many. I feel like this every time we get talking about these things. I'm like, okay, so I have about 6 hours what I want to talk about here. But I think what just is coming up for me, amongst many things, is something Ide was saying, is that a little bit, you said something like, there's a little something for everyone. And I feel that in people's projects, so my friends and my kind of people that I'm not super close with, their community friends, I see them at events, I don't go get lunch with them. Everyone has a project of some sort that's going on, and it might be local or it might not. Some people work remotely, and that's a big part of their thing. But people, as we know from the health retreat that we're having in October, there's a lot of healing practitioners here, so a lot of people have come in, and that's their thing. That's their practice, that's their gift, their talent, their 30 years of their expertise. Some people, it's about making soap. Some people it's about making kombucha. Some people, and we're all connected. This is a very much like micro example, but the Telegram threads, I know a lot of us can be not loving the social media or text messaging platforms, but I will say, this is an impression of Vilcabamba, like in all honesty, I have never seen a community operate around Telegram like this anywhere around the world. And I've lived in Bali, I've lived in Kauai, I have had major communities, international. It's almost like we revolve around Telegram, and there is Facebook, but there's multiple threads. To give a little context, I think this is a thing here. People start them at some points, over the years. There's ones for like buy and sell. There's ones for Vilcabamba news. There's ones for, about healing things that are going on, more ecstatic dance and more like, spiritual events that are happening. And then, guys, I never thought, when I say never, I never thought I would start a group Telegram thread. And I have one for my yoga. You're in it. I know you don't follow these threads, but just saying, it's a big thing. Ide's in it, and that's how I communicate with 30 to 40 people about the yoga that I teach. And it works because everyone has just kind of accepted, okay, this is one of the main communication tools. And if I'm remembering correctly, this is well before I got here, one of them that just kept growing, it was because when early 2020, the pandemic, when the whole shift happened, people wanted a way to stay in touch, and they wanted to make sure that they were connecting immediately. And I think that actually, again, sort of this like resistance to technology aside, I think it's actually pretty productive. I've purchased things off of Telegram that I never thought I'd be purchasing because we share in this community.
Exactly.
And that kind of sharing and reusing, and this is actually an environmental standpoint, the amount of stuff that's reused, like that's actually really impressive to me. And it's not, there is one amazing, probably more than one, kind of like thrift shop or resale or kind of a Goodwill version is what you would call it in the States, and it goes for a charity supporting. But people, like, I've bought things where typically I'd be like, I'm just gonna go to Home Depot and buy a new one. I'll just go to Bed Bath and Beyond. Like, why not just buy the new stuff for my house? It's like, but really, do I need brand new stools? Like, stools are stools. And I think a lot of people here, it's like a little bit of a sharing economy. And so that's a big part around sustainability, and somehow that weaves into the community aspect, like somehow community strengthen. Okay, last little point on that. I bought a rug for my house from some woman who I never met in all of Vilcabamba, and now we're like very friendly because I bought my rug from her for a very good price, by the way. Everything's at a, used price sale, but it's also, we don't need more waste in this world. We don't need more disposable plastics and things getting thrown away every time you move. Like we recycle a lot here, so I'll leave that as one of my fun impressions.
No, I love the Telegram groups. It can become a little overwhelming because it's just too many. Like I cannot really keep track of all
Sometimes
of them.
I check out for days, but then you have a little FOMO. It's like social media. It's like, but what if I miss something on sale? Or there's a last minute full moon circle. Like, what if I miss that? You can't miss it. And then sometimes I actually decompress from Telegram. It's that you need to just like unplug from the Telegram thing.
Exactly.
You had something?
No.
I ignore Telegram entirely, but the community piece for me personally is the biggest draw. It's the biggest reason I make my home here, and who knows what the future holds, but feel at this point that I will never leave. Like in some capacity, I'll always stay connected to this community, because it is actually a community. Like and I've never experienced that before. I'm sure that exists in other places. I absolutely can't say it doesn't. I grew up in a small town in Vermont where I think there was some of that. Like I kind of see my parents had a good set of friends and they did some cool stuff, and there was cool stuff going on, but I have never seen it like this. And that for me, right, it's, you have the weather, which is incredible, and you have the natural and organic food options, and you have the international restaurants, and you have the lifestyle and the cost of living and all the sort of stuff that attracts people here, the nature. You go on hikes, and I go to the river all the time, and there's all that kind of stuff. And that's all great. But without the community, that could get old. That could become something that's not, doesn't sustain sort of its draw. But it's the people that are here, right? So you guys are you mentioned yoga and some full moon circles and whatever, right? But the plethora, the amount of activities that are available to you, there's way more stuff going on that I want to do that I have time to do. I occasionally when I do see a Telegram or I see a Facebook thing, or once there's groups on Facebook as well and some on WhatsApp, and there's a newsletter, and there's all kinds of ways to get information, and then friends just tell you as well, but there's so many both activities and events. So if you want to learn how to sing, if you want to play music, if you want to do clay, if you want to do acrobatics or gymnastics or art or theater or dance or anything like that, there's multiple magic
chess. I know these things are real.
Yoga, sweat lodges, we're probably just made through like 20% of the list.
And this is just three of us too. Like there's other things that we don't know
that we don't even know about, right?
Yeah.
So to have that available to you in this tiny little valley, really cool. And then the people, right? To have people that are real humans that you actually can rely on, that are actually fully present and solid, and just awesome people who are on their life path. Like they don't define themselves around whatever they do for a living, even though some of them do some really cool stuff. But it's not that sort of like, hey, how's it going, bro? Like, what you doing? I'm on my way to work. Like, it's not that.
That's how
right?
I always talk to each other, just like that.
It's real interaction. It's very human. When you ask someone how they're doing, it's a real question, right? It's like, I just ran into a friend today, Casey, who maybe I'll get him on the podcast sometime. And, we haven't seen each other maybe a week or two. And boom, we're dive right into like deep shit, and I love that. Like I love that that's available here. Mm-hmm. It's just adds to the quality of life to such an extent.
For me, it's very valuable. Like another point in the community, I am a mom. I have children, so there is a lot of. I really like the culture of the expat community here. So I'm very much attached to that community. So there is a lot of moms here that we're very supportive. Like when we're raising children, when we get sick, like we have our own group, like to see, when my kid get like a fever, like we text each other and like we are supporting us each other. So it's nice that I have that bunch of moms with children of my age. Also, like my children really enjoy to have like kids of that age too. So the amount of activities that there is around for them too, like, is very nice. And yeah, I could keep talking. Like, if there is people that wants to come down and do something with children, that there is an opportunity here. There is in the past, it was attracting this area a lot of retirement people, but right now what is attracting is like families. Like, it's a great place to like raise kids. It's beautiful. The weather allows for the kids to like enjoy nature all year long, so that's always available. And yeah,
they're great points.
Yes.
Really good points.
Yeah, and just touching on that, right? It's like, I don't know, one of the issues I had. So I'm trying to move down to Ecuador in like 2011, 12, and I'm reading stuff online about Ecuador. And most of it was inaccurate, I found out later. Like, I kind of came under false pretenses, right? Because of sort of outdated. Most of it was just outdated. Some of it was just flat out absurd, but a lot of it was just outdated information. I think that's better now, right? I think there's more information now available online that's more accurate than there was. But there's also this sort of hyperbolic negativity, which I think is not, it's not unique to Vilcabamba. I think it's just kind of the internet in many ways, right? You got a lot of people on the internet angry about stuff, spreading sort of fear and anger about all kinds of things, whether it's politics or it's sports or it's, anything. You've got, people being angry about stuff. And when what I've noticed over the years here is particularly like the Facebook groups, it's hyperbolic. Like, it's just, and a lot of these people do not live here, right? Some of them have never lived here and have right? And then I've noticed too, in international news, the only time Ecuador gets press internationally is if something terrible has happened. There's like political instability, or there's some kind of protest, or there's someone's died, right? Like, those are basically the reasons that Ecuador makes news internationally, or an earthquake, right? They make news for that as well. And outside of that, there might be an economic story here and there, but that's really all you get. And look, this place certainly, from my perspective, is not for everybody. Like, I've seen people come to Vilcabamba and sort of, I would describe it as get sort of chewed up and spit out. Like, it's an intense place, I think, energetically in many ways. And it's super different than life where I come from in the U.S., where things are very standardized and orderly, and you sort of have this somewhat of a reliance on the rules and authority and the way things are. And here, it's all relationships. It's all like talking to people and figuring it out and networking and relying on your who's around you to help you and get things done. And there's a lack of standardization, and it's not as convenient in many ways, right? There's no Amazon.com to to have your slippers delivered the next morning that you wanted. You might have the slippers here custom made, and right. You might it's a totally different life, a totally different mentality. And some people don't like it, right? Some people that's not for them, and I respect that. That's completely cool. But it is important, I think, for people to actually know what it's like here, as opposed to just sort of people who are probably negative in general in their life, sort of talking crap on the internet, because it's not accurate, And I think it's unfortunate. I think a lot of people sort of take those cues and then don't even check it out because they're thinking that's what it's like, but it's really not, in my experience. So just wanted to get that out there, get that off my chest. Thanks for humoring me on that. But if you're enjoying this, please give us a like. Please share this video, subscribe to the channel. Also hit the bell, which gives you the notifications.
I'll pull a Brandon. He always does this.
Thank you. For new content when it comes out. There are still a few spots available for our July, I think it's 21st, July 21st, Vilcabamba Lifestyle Retreat. That is a 9-day retreat. It's a lot of fun. Come down, meet these two lovely ladies, and learn everything you possibly could want to know, and I actually mean that, about life here, Vilcabamba, processes, legal, construction, you name it. It's really a great retreat. The feedback on that has been incredibly positive. We're going into our 5th retreat now, so we'd love to see you down here for that. We will leave a link in the description. So, all right, we talked a lot about some of the cool stuff of the valley. Is there anything that jumps out at you that is like warning? That this is the stuff that we don't like about life here, or anything anything along those lines you guys want to share?
I have an observation that I'd like to share.
Please.
Not so much like, okay, I don't like this because it's all happening for a reason, right? As I accept this, I'm like, I've chosen my life here. There are so many things I like. I don't need to caveat that. There's so much positivity. What I find fascinating, that I've never experienced this because I've never lived in a town that's actually population-wise this small. So I think 7,000 to 8,000, roughly is the number, depending how far, people estimate. 1/4 approximately extranjeros, expats, a lot from US, Canada, and other places in Europe, and some also South America. I have never experienced such a small town rumor mill, gossip chain.
Big time.
I've actually been is horrified too much of a word? Maybe not. I've been in social circles before, right? And I was also in a sorority at a huge school, and I'm actually comparing it to my time in sorority life, because there can be a lot of intensity, and it was so shocking to me, because at first I was like, oh, that's not true. It doesn't really work like that. That's not, no one's gonna be that petty or whatever. And then 1, I found out it is true, and 2, I actually caught myself, so I'm gonna be fair, getting caught up in it. Getting seriously caught up. I'm like, so what'd that person say? And what did they do last year? And there is a real spiritual teaching. For those of you who might not know, yoga is a big part of my life and background, and one of them is about integrity of words. And I'm gonna get in my little preacher soapbox here to make up for my gossip comment. There is something about integrity with words and mindfulness of speech, and where you put your energy, where I put my energy, is going to feed and manifest more of whatever that is. And if it's a negative talk, gossip, and also sometimes it's okay to not like things, but you don't need to kind of carry on about it to a certain point. And I think it becomes, there's a little bit of an intensity. So I've found I can navigate it. It is navigatable. Yep. But be careful, because you might be like me, where it's almost like not a slippery slope, but when you drink the Kool-Aid, I started drinking the Kool-Aid, and then you start getting gossipy yourself. And so it's good. I like to know what's going on, and at some point I'm just like, you know what? I don't actually really need to know that full backstory. You can just keep that, and we'll talk about it later if it's relevant, but not now. And that would be something that I was like, wow, that was intense.
No, now that you mention it, that was kind of of the things that it really bothered me in the beginning when I got here. I am new here, no one knows me, but I will hear things about me. I was like,
about yourself.
I just got here. So it was something that I had to work on till the point that those kind of things didn't bother me, and kind of people got to know me better, and kind of say oh no, that's not. Or, in the beginning, they don't like you for whatever reason, your energy or whatever.
Yep.
But no, after growing and becoming an adult, I think those things change. Or I also my perspective of those things also like I don't care what other people think. Like I don't put my energy into because they don't know anything about me.
I want to just like double down on everything Ide is saying, because that's kind of what I meant by it's happening for a reason, and this is the spiritual growth edge. It's like when you get so triggered by something and you're like, oh, those people, it's like, no, hold on a second. It's actually a mirror of something somewhere in myself that you actually need to look deeper. And this is very yogic philosophy I'm kind of sharing here, and also other spiritual philosophies. Whatever you see in the world that triggers you and upsets you and makes you angry, there's some part of your own psyche that's actually mirroring, and it's not tit for tat. It's not an exact mirror, and that's like the kind of funhouse version of the spiritual reflection. So it caused me to look at my own insecurities.
Yeah, that was a big one for me too.
Yeah, and be like,
but also it helps you to release a lot of things that also they are not yours.
And realize,
so, like,
yeah. Okay, can I keep going on?
Yes.
So the book, The Four Agreements. Have you both read the book, The Four Agreements? Here we go. This is what we talk about, right? Not just integrity with your word, or impeccable with your word, but also like, what's the one where you can't control, like take nothing personally, right? And you have to be self-responsible, and if you do something bad, apologize. We all make mistakes. We all make bad choices and decisions. We make up for them however we can. But also, I had to let go of like, if that person really thought that or said that, like, you know what? It's not my job to make a thing out of it. Like, they're going through their thing, and I know who I am, and that's okay. We're cool. Exactly. We're cool. And I think a lot of folks, the more sort of public the personas of other like healers here or people with businesses, you know, we all know each other.
Yeah.
Everyone has an opinion.
Exactly. Yeah. No, if everyone will apply the four agreements, like the world will be much healthier.
Completely agree.
I recommend the book.
Mandatory reading.
No,
if you're
good.
watching this video, please comment below on the four agreements. If you don't know what it is, we're adding it. We're going to add a link regardless.
Click the affiliate marketing link below. No.
Wink, wink.
right. Yeah, and it's interesting too, because I concur completely, and I'll share some anecdotes in a second. But the flip side to that, I think, and maybe they're related, maybe they're not. This just kind of occurred to me, but is sort of the support that you were talking about, right? Yes. So it's like everyone gossips and talks about everything, and there's all these rumors. And by the way, that comes from Ecuadorian culture.
Yeah.
So Latin American culture is that way already. So it, and this was so strange for me. I'm in New York City for like years, and I'm a very private person. In New York, you don't talk about anybody under any circumstances. Like, unless you're talking to them, you're not talking about them. And that's what I'm used to and what I come from. And on top of that, in New York, nobody looks at one another, right? It's kind of face ahead, no eye contact, with strangers. That's kind of, you mind your business, right? And then I get down here and I'm being stared at everywhere I go, right? I'm just being looked at. It took me a while to adjust. Like, there was a period of time I'm stopping on the street being like, what? Like, like thinking that I have to be concerned. Right, in New York, if someone's staring at you, there's a reason why, right? It's not a normal phenomenon. My daughter's getting home. And so that stuff comes from Ecuadorian culture, where people here talk, right? There's really no privacy at all in this country, right? If I want intel on someone, I can call their lawyer and find out whatever I need to know, right? Like, that's an example of just how extreme the sort of common knowledge, the fact that nothing's private. I've been in what feels like interrogated. It's not interrogated. It actually comes from a very nice place. But I've been asked a series of questions that for me is so far over the personal line by Ecuadorians, tends to be, well, just Ecuadorians in general. Many times, like probably 100 times, right? What's your name? Where you're from? How many kids you have? Do you like it here? Who's your wife? How old is she? Just keeps going, right? They want to know everything, and there's nothing abnormal about that. There's no like line that crosses into, no, this is personal. I don't know you that well. That doesn't exist. So in Vilcabamba, it's almost like the foreigners have adopted that sort of like mentality that comes from the local culture. And me being a private person, being someone who doesn't like gossip at all and doesn't really participate in that, it's actually been very easy for me to navigate that, because I've noticed that it tends to be some groups of people that sort of sit around and talk crap, basically. And outside of them, I don't notice that. But there is a lot of conversations that go on for sure. And the rumors that I've heard about myself, I mean, hilarious. Like, really funny. Most of them are inappropriate. Like, I'm not even going to share them here. But I've heard things about myself over the years that are just, I mean, hysterical and completely not based in fact at all, right? Like, zero. Like, don't even know the person that they're referring to, whatever they're referring to, right? So yeah, that's a legitimately like funny side of life here.
It's funny because I'm Ecuadorian, but I also feel the same way because I grew up in Spain for 10 years. So when I came here and I experienced that, it was also shocking. So yeah, but I believe that it's also inside of me at some level as well too. So I'm not gonna like take that away from me completely.
It's I guess maybe our wrap up positive frame spin on it is like, what a colorful like spiritual lesson that this is, right? Like I've just never had this particular. I've had a lot of spiritual lessons, like a lot. Never one quite like this. And I also just want to add what both of you said. The level of trust that I have with friendships that I've made here and people who have my back, it is related to like the whole gossip thing because I think about stuff like that. I'm like, I wouldn't trade it for a second. You know, for a place that's like less gossip or less like rumor mill or whatever. You know, it's a small town. I've also just never lived in such a freaking small town before.
That may
if I
be
lived
part
in
of it. I
a
don't
7,000,
know,
like there's high schools in the United States that are 7,000 people. Like it is a small population, and so it's natural. We all know each other, and I think it allows us to drop deeper into heartfelt, I'll call it family connection with people. You know, I feel like this with you guys, and I have other friends, and Ade probably remembers this. After I was here like a month or two, I'm like, I'm gonna just, you know, I'm international, I'm in a third world country, I'm gonna make a list of contact information because my family's all in the States. Most of them never been to Vilcabamba. They would have no idea if something happened to them or to me here. And I was like, you know what, I have a serious good amount of people to put on this emergency contact list of like who to call if they couldn't find me. And also, who knows what's happening in the world. There could be any event on a global level where we all need to have each other's backs. And I'm like, we're on the team. We're on the team. And that feels good, and that's fun. And I don't think you quite get that in such a big city. You have your couple core friends, but we're like at community level. I've never had this many people that I could rely upon at different levels, right? And even the ones that I only know a little bit, if push came to shove, I would help them out, and they would help me out. And we know who we are. And we know each other, so that feels good.
No, that's sort of the support element that is so cool, right? It's like when someone has, let's say, a medical issue, or a financial issue, or a personal life issue, or a children issue, or whatever. I've watched this community respond over and over and over in such a profoundly supportive and positive way. It's beautiful. You know, we had even, you know, a tragic event recently. We talked about this on the last pod. You know, a woman was killed, right? Not right in Vilcabamba, about an hour away, but sort of part of the community. I won't get into that here. You can check out our last pod if you want to see that. But the response of the community has been gorgeous. I mean, like tens of thousands of dollars, I believe, were raised for the family in like a matter of days, and there was all kinds of stuff. I don't want to get into that. It's not that the time and the place for that, but just the response and beautiful, and it's just indicative. I've seen, you know, when a family has babies, generally the women get together and create these, what do they call them, like meal trains. And when
beautiful.
right, it's beautiful. And when people get sick, you know, you see real help. Like people drive over with, hey, I have this for you, like try it, you know, and all the advice and all of the sort of stuff. And people's kids, same thing, right? Like everyone looks out for each other's kids. There's all these activities that the kids are in together, so the kids also have that great community and that great support. It's beautiful. Like I love sort of watching my 14-year-old daughter's social life and just her life, because it's like, I'm jealous of what she does all day, right? She goes to this class and that class and hangs out with these kids and those kids, and it's here, and you know, like I don't even know what there is drawback wise for her, you know, in terms of her life. You know, I gotta work all the time, you know. But yeah, some of that stuff's really cool as well.
Yeah. You work, but you can also enjoy life at the same time. So
Yeah,
that's a
you
good-
weave the
good sign.
balance. I'm just noticing our backdrop here. Yes, and all those things.
It's
Like
beautiful.
it's like someone just. I feel like we're in a fake background. I mean, the lighting
We
that's
get
come up
we get
behind
accused
us.
of that all the time.
This is. I mean, we've had like
This
a
is
whole
real.
show going on during this. It's This is real.
Well, and that's one of the things too. Like I'm up here on we're on a roof deck right now. I spend a lot of time up here. The different greens and hues and colors and lights and reflections off of these mountains and energies and the whole thing. It's I mean, it's amazing. Like I've been here 10 years and I still wake up in the morning and go, wow. And we talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
I say to you all the time, I'm like, do you know how I swear I'm cussing usually when I say this, but do you know how bleeping beautiful it is where we live? Like it's just gorgeous, and 10 years in, like I still notice that every day.
Yeah, and like people here doesn't really value how beautiful this is. Most of like Ecuadorian, they wanna go somewhere else, and they don't understand the value of this place, Ecuador. And I've never been in other places in South America, so I cannot really talk about it. I've been in Peru, and I love the beach area, but like going like into Peru, like it was kind of very dry, desertic in like most of the places.
Well, yeah, we were in the northern coast of Peru, which is very desert-like.
So there is something about the location of the Ecuador that we have, like the variety of the vegetation, the weather, all in the same country. It's not a big country. It's very
It's tiny,
small.
size of Colorado.
But it's amazing. You have it all here. Yeah. It's a great place here.
All right. Anything else that we didn't hit on that you guys wanna? I wish this was live and you guys could ask questions. You got access now. I don't know. What do you think,
We
ladies?
should do
Anything?
one live one time.
We should figure that out
should
with
do
the
that.
chat. Yeah.
Yeah,
and the
we
people
used to
putting-
go live. We're gonna start
Yeah,
doing
I
that again.
I think I've seen that.
Yep.
It's good. You know, the last thing, I think, at risk of sort of repeating a lot of stuff we've said, but this is maybe a little bit of a different note. What Vilcabamba means to me, or one of the things I found most intriguing that I haven't seen elsewhere, is I haven't met every single person in town, but I've met a lot of people, like a lot of people of different walks of life. We have people that, again, are kind of more business professionals who do the Zoom, role back in the States or Canada as like their main business. We have people running fincas, which are farms, which are homesteads, selling soaps and goods and organic kimchis and all these things. Like, there's such a variety.
Kimchi's really good too.
It's so good. There's so many things. And you get it on Telegram. I don't know where you get your kimchi, but it's really good. You get it on Telegram. She's limited supply. Okay, before I lose my point here. I've never quite met this range of diversity of people in their craft, in the stuff that they're passionate about, also their belief systems, specifically religion, specifically spirituality, specifically atheism, or everything in between and beyond that too. That actually, and I'm not going to pretend this is a kumbaya, 100%, an impossible place on earth where not a single person has conflict. Absolutely not. But I think I see more diversity of friendships, of people of different walks of life here.
Agreed.
Like, there's the people who love their horses, and like they're so good at it, and they're building a thing. And there's people who are therapists, and they find something in common, and they both can bond over the yoga class. And it's like these sweet friendships where maybe in a much bigger city, I found at least my group of circle was much more homogenous.
Yeah.
We all worked in the same industry. We all did the same thing. We're all kind of married to the same people, and we're all in the same social
Political
circles.
views can be
Totally.
define the friendships.
And shocking, we're all at the same restaurants and same vacation beach towns and whatever. It was like, and we think like, well, everybody's doing this. It's like, that's not everybody. That is a very narrow slice of archetype of people. But here I think there's different walks of life and diversity of ages too. There's people that are, as we would say, elders, in their 60s, 70s even, who are friends with me, and I'm a full generation younger than them, and are friends with like your daughter, Kirsten, who's 14, and it's like we actually, I haven't quite seen that blend of diversity and community here, and that is special to me. I didn't know that was missing in my heart, and that was missing. Yeah. Okay, I'm glad I got to add that in. Thanks.
You brought something up too. The kids are like adults here. The kids are not angry and rebellious. how cool is that, right? Like the kids are friends with the adults. At least when I grew up, we didn't do that. We were hiding and being bad and doing all that whole thing. At my daughter's age, for example, and the kids here at any age, they're part of the community, and people really look out for them. Like there's actual mentoring going on, where it's just like, friends of the parents look out for the kids. And so if there is a kid, there is a young person who's going through stuff, they have real support as well. Like real support. Like actually like people they know and have known for a while who can sit down and talk to them and give them advice and support and, do that whole thing. That's really cool too. Like I so appreciate the way my daughter is experiencing life versus how I did at her age, because we're running around just doing stupid stuff all day, and she's not, and that's really cool.
I want to add a little anecdote because they love anecdotes. You're saying people love the little stories. Exactly to Jesse's point, and this involves Ide too, and Jesse's daughter. As one family unit, your family unit, the three of you show up at my yoga class together most Sundays together. This is exactly. When I was in New York, there were no 14-year-olds coming to the yoga classes, and I went to over 1,500 yoga classes.
There was probably a rule. There was probably a waiver that would have needed to be
you're under 18 or something. And I don't want to say absolutely never, but basically never. I mean, on rare occasions, someone would bring their daughter. There's someone, friends visiting, so they come as a family or whatnot. In general, that was not the norm. The norm is there's a couple, they're now both teenager girls that like to come to the yoga class. And at first I'm like, are they coming just to like please their parents? Like what's going on? No, turns out they actually enjoy it. And they kind of hang afterwards, and there is that adult factor, but they're not with us all the time. I mostly see them in town with kids their own age and having that friendship, but that's like exactly what you're talking to is that they roll and that interweaving of generation, like you guys are a walking example of that, your family unit. Yeah.
Well, no skipping that you actually give like a legit yoga class that we really enjoy, so.
For all ages, exactly. Yoga for all ages.
Anything else you want to share, or any last advice for people before we wrap up?
No, just come and meet us on the retreat. We would love to have you here and spend some time with you. Right?
Do you also have a marketing background? That was right on the money.
I love when the retreat people come here. Like I love meeting people, and I really enjoy somehow we attract the people that is right for this place. So I don't recall any person from the past retreats that they are not like they are good for this community. This is what they are made for. So I'm enjoying every time I meet new people that come from this retreat that you guys run. It's just special people for.
No, the retreats have been a lot of fun, and the people have been amazing. The participants and our families. So myself, Brandon, Carl, our families like to do the stuff.
Yes.
So that you guys end up on hikes and up at Mandongo and heading, doing this and doing that, which is cool. And it becomes like a really beautiful camaraderie and friendship that has developed in all of the retreats we've hosted, which has really added, I think, to sort of the special factor of the retreats. Any advice or anything last minute you want to?
I feel good.
Okay.
No, I love that.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to these ladies as well for taking the time. And I'm not going to do the tagline because Carl and Brandon aren't here. I'm very pleased not to have to do that. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you next week.
Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.